guys, welcome back. Today we're working on a few cars. This one here is my own. This is my 123. So what we're going to do is we've got some rust spots on the bonnet. We've cleaned the car up. We have a better idea. We're going to take off the grille, polish that up. We're going to take off the bonnet and fix up all the damage in the paint. So we'll have to cut out areas that are too bad and replace them, and we'll probably paint this. That's yet to be decided on how we fix this up, but certain areas need to be stripped. Like over here we have some cracks, we have some rust exposed, some metal holes. We're going to chop that, we're going to put it back together and refinish the surface, make sure it's fine and it's clean. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to paint the inside as well and go from there. Just see where we can things that are the most in need of attention. This is an eyesore as well as it's right in the way. There are some chips in the paint, we're going to touch that up. And as we go for the body work, after this I'm probably going to go for the floor. So that's the plan. We don't know how it'll work out. We'll probably have to strip the interiors, keep them aside, and do up the whole flooring. Patch it up where there are holes, strip it, and see exactly how the metal is. In the meanwhile, we have a couple more cars. We've also got this here. This is a Tata Nano, which is an EV. It's a Neo actually, made by JM. And we've got some work to do on it. We have to replace some sensors that come on the batteries. So that's something we're going to do. A little bit off camera, but we're going to do some of this stuff. We're going to have to take off the seats. We're going to have to take off some of the controllers and stuff. And we'll get to the batteries. And we're going to fix that up. If we have any trouble, we're going to have to call a technician. They'll probably have to come in from Kochi. So we've luckily got these parts from Kochi. They give us a lot of service. They help us out. I'll leave a little comment below on their contact details. In case you have a JM Neo and you need some help or you need it serviced, these guys will help you out. They might even sell you the parts, or you can send your parts as well. In the case of my own car, my own Neo, we had a problem where I accidentally reset the BMS, the battery management system, and the thermistor. So there is a sensor which controls the temperature and checks if something's too hot, turns on the fans, all that stuff, makes sure the car doesn't overheat, and the batteries, which is really important. So we had to send those units with our EC, whatever controller this thing has, and we sent it to them. They reset it on their bench and they send it back to us, and the car was perfectly fine. It does take a bit of time because there is transport in between, but it's better than not having a fix at all. They do provide us with parts as well. The other thing is, we were working on our car. They provided us a replacement battery charger. So the charger is taking your AC voltage, which is 220, and converting it to 48 DC for the batteries and 12 DC for the ancillaries. So you have, I believe the power steering is working on that. Also the power brakes, stuff like that, that's all working on 12 volts. So we need both of them. So that's really important. Now back to these two, which is going to be the main highlight of today. We've got this car in. This is a friend's car. He just picked it up. He got it restored and everything. I believe it's done in Mysore. I'll have to check on that. But this is called a Ford Tourer. It's from the mid-30s, and this car is basically, you can open up the roof. It's open. You don't even have any windows. So that's how it was back then. There's no problem. You pull this handle and it opens up. You don't have handles on the outside, but quite a simple car. It's running rod brakes. So these are some things that are really peculiar that we have to learn about too, in case we have to service this car. It runs rod brakes. So you press the brake pedal and there's a set of linkages that works and pulls these two rods that are in these hubs, and that actuates the drum brakes, so it pushes them out. In the case of this Vauxhall, that is still hydraulic. That's from I think the late 40s, while this is from the mid 30s. So a lot different. You can say that design language changed. Like, it's not like a Ford Model T where you have that whole the box sections, the different boxes. Like you have this, the body, then you have the engine part, but this is one unit. It's still running a chassis, but it looks like it's one unit. It's where the design shifted. After this, you have something completely different where the engine bays are bigger. You don't have these exposed fenders. So this is actually a resto mod. The fenders would have been the same, but it's just that the cars have evolved a bit, and we have some changes. We have a lot of interesting things on this car, like the tires would have been very difficult to procure. Today these tires are a pain to get, so I believe they cost a bomb to get. Probably more than some nice 18-inch tires that you'd put on a modern car, but quite difficult to get tires like this. I'll show you guys how it is to sit in it, and we'll take it out for a ride later, and I'll show you that right now. So over here we have this handle. We pull it up to get in. It's a little cumbersome to get in, and that's why we had to make a little change here. We had to modify this rod so it's easier to drive, because otherwise it would have been right here. You would have to probably move this way to put it in reverse. It's a little cumbersome. The shifter now works fine. It's something that had to be done to make it easier to drive, but that's it. Over here we have the key switch. We have some indicator lights. I believe this is the on and this is probably the oil. Yeah, this was oil. No check engine light. We've got the horn over here. That's probably added. The horn should be over here. That's something that could be changed later on. And we've got the beams. So we've got the lights and the beam. So quite simple on the inside, nothing else. We've got a glove box over here. A little bit tough. There we go. We've got a glove box. Quite simple. And over here we have amperes to show us when the battery is charging, something that was probably important back in the day. We've got this speedometer, and we've got the fuel gauge. This is added on, I believe, later. Not sure if it was there earlier, but this is changed. This is modern. This is something that's from back then. Apart from that, it's a little cumbersome to drive. We've got the handbrake, which is like an ice pick. You just pull it out over here, and that's how that works. But quite cumbersome to drive, a little weird, but quite quirky. I feel like when we've taken it out, people have really appreciated it. It makes everyone smile and everyone's happy to see it. That's the nice thing about this. It makes you feel like you're back in the 30s, like almost 100 years ago. So it's really cool that way, but quite fun. It's fun that way. A little scary to drive, to be honest. We'll show you when we drive it. But yeah, there's not much space. It's a little high. The seat in the back is high. When you open it up, it's quite nice. This doesn't provide you with much protection from the rain. It's more of just sun protection. But if it were to rain, I'm sure we would get wet, obviously. I've seen some cars with windows over here. So what you could do is you could put a pair of windows. That's probably a new modification with a transparent screen, which is flexible. And I'm not sure what this is for. We'll probably have a video. There's not much. There are not many pictures available of this car, so it's a little hard to find. It's slightly rare, so it's hard to find reference pictures too. That's the great thing about cars like these young timers, where you can check online and you can find all the references that you require to restore a car like this. But over here, it gets a little tricky. It is a bit challenging to find all the references you require to restore something. So kudos to the guys who restored this. They did a great job with putting everything in place. I'm not sure how the car came, but I'm sure that there were challenges. So it is difficult. I believe this seat, yeah, it bends, so it's easy to access the back. Then you can sit in the back. Right now it's just meant for two little kids, so they'll be sitting, but quite easy to get in the back. So now I'll show you guys the Vauxhall, which is something I find more interesting. That is quite cool. Okay, go there. So this here is an actual hot rod. This uses a modern engine from India. It uses a gypsy engine and gearbox to make it more practical and powerful. This was a Vauxhall 12/4. I don't think it was a 6-cylinder. But what happened was they picked it up. They wanted to do something cool with it. And while the owner was away on a trip, they chopped and dropped the roof, which he was thrilled with. But it was a brave move, because sometimes these things don't work out. But this is built by Sultanpur Customs, a couple of my friends from Delhi. They build cars for themselves and sometimes rarely for friends. In this case, this Vauxhall was built for a friend. They've taken off the fenders, they've put on spacers and these cool wheels. They've put the headlights away and they've blacked out the car. They've put a few custom touches on it. Apart from the dropping of the roof, which is really cool, they added a sunroof. they put on these fenders, so those were actually bolt-ons, and a few things here and there. I'm sure these mirrors are custom too. But here we have power windows. So they've added power windows. This is a resto mod to it. They've done a cool black interior, and I'll show you guys the inside too. We have to do a bit of work on this car. It's a little easier to get in than the other one, and a bit tall, so yep, that's much better. Lot more space inside, and this is more modern than that car over there. It runs hydraulic brakes. They're drum brakes, so a little scary and still very old. A little bit difficult to completely fine-tune the brake system, but there is still work on it. We've got the controls over here. All we have is a headlight and a horn. But we'll take this for a drive and show you both of them. But first we'll show you the Ford. So while prepping those two cars for a drive, we first have to take the Ford and drop it off. Then we're going to take out the Vauxhall, show you the car. I'm also working on this. So what we have to do is we're going to take off the bonnet. I'm going to fix these holes. And I'm also going to take off the grille. We're going to polish it, make it look fresh. Maybe dismantle it, not sure about that. And refinish this because it's looking a little dated. The grille is damaged, but we're going to try to use as much of the original car as possible. And when I need new parts and I have the chance to get them, I will get them. But we have stuff like these headlights. At some point, they will need a change. But when I get them, I can. First is fixing what's absolutely necessary. And right now, it's the holes, the rust holes. We've taken off 6 of the screws that have been used to mount this grille. But the last one is difficult. So a technique that I have is first finish off whichever ones are able to come off and leave the last one. If possible, you might just be left with one. But if you shake this, it does have a bit of play because it is loose. And that gives you a bit of wiggle room for the screw to loosen up, which sadly didn't work. The screw didn't loosen up. It's still about to slip, which we don't want to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nose plier and hopefully access the screw from the other side. And that should work. If it doesn't work, we might have to drill the screw, break it, and replace it later with the grill off. But we're going to have to do as much as possible not to damage the screw. Some of the rust holes are so bad that a finger can go through, almost. So we're going to have to work on this. Cut this patch out, repair it, and do all these that are quite bad. Otherwise, it seems all right. Okay. We're now taking off the bonnet. Steering is a bit vague on this, and yeah, being on the left side is quite challenging. I hope that's third. Can't say much for the suspension because it's meant for quite a while back. I'm not sure how you service these components. I'm sure it's a challenge, but yeah, it's quite a rough drive. Not too bad on these relatively smooth roads. The brakes are horrible. But yeah, it's a car from the 30s, so what do you expect? It's nearly 100 years old. I mean, there's not much to say. You don't have much going on here. It's more about the feeling of being back from when this car was fresh. Somewhat. own charm and interesting to drive. I think you can see the fenders from here, so that's great. You know where the car does, and you have to poke your head out. Comfortable in the winters. It's just some exhaust. I think more than anything with this car, it's about the reactions you get, because a lot of the people haven't seen something like this. It's quite charming. This guy doesn't know what to do. But yeah, I think it's all about that. It's all about the reactions, how you feel while driving the car. The fact that it's come from a complete different era. So it's quite interesting to see something like this today on the road, and that's pretty much all I can say. It's not something you can daily drive, obviously, and I'm sure modernizing it to some extent would make it more practical. Maybe putting a more modern engine that really helps, and that could make it more reliable, which is something really important. Like, a lot of these engines are just so horrible that even putting in people put in Omni engines, Gypsy engines, 1000cc, and it works out much better. It works much better than just keeping the stock one. So yeah, I couldn't say much. I mean, there's not much to say about this drive. It is challenging. You can't really hold a conversation because you have to have all your concentration on the road. But yeah, after this we'll probably drive the Vauxhall. But before that, we're gonna have to work on the 123. We've taken off the fenders, the bonnet. Oh, please, the bottom of the slope. So I'm just gonna get into first gear. Yeah, it is. We are working on that car, so we're gonna do that next. We're gonna clean up all the rust, find all the holes, patch them up as much as we can, without removing the engine and all that stuff. I mean, sadly, we might have to remove something, maybe the brake booster, maybe something else, but we're gonna try to remove as little as possible from the engine bay and restore the car. All the holes and stuff like that. So that's what's up next. Hopefully in this episode we can put everything back together, but always quite a challenge. Maybe we'll have to do it in the next one. We took off the bonnet and we found that there were some holes over here. That hinge is having a problem. The clip has come off that holds it in place. So what we're going to do, we're going to take off the hinges, take off the fenders, repair whatever damage we find, and put the fenders back on. But we're going to have to take off the headlights, indicators, the bumper, clean up whatever we can. And this time we'll do whatever we find possible. Any holes that have to be patched up, we'll do. And then we'll put the stuff back together. We'll paint the inner areas black, that's not visible and not easy to for us to access. And the rest of it, we'll have to try to match body color, which might be a challenge, but we'll figure something out. We've dismantled the car to a certain extent. Bonnet, fenders, bumpers are off. We're going to have to remove the fender lining, and we're going to have to clean up all the rust, all the paint. We'll sand it down and we'll paint it again. But right now we have a little bit of a problem where I can see into the firewall from here. So this area has to be patched up, probably cut first. We have to patch the inner side and then patch this side. But what basically is happening is water comes in from here, water accumulates here, there's a lot of gunk. So we're also going to remove this because I feel like, oh, okay. So what we have here is, it looks like a little barrier where water shouldn't be passing further and shouldn't be coming to this area. So we might have to repair this. We'll probably repair this panel. It seems removable. And we'll put it back. So this all has to be cleaned up. The drains have to be cleaned up. We have these little passages where water passes through. So all of this has to be opened up, cleaned, and put back. And this is where the rust occurs, because this is all jammed up with a bit of dirt. See what's inside? So the passage was full of debris and you know, a lot of this type of stuff, all the stuff that comes in from leaves. So we're going to have to clean this and make sure everything's proper, because I'm pretty sure water would come into the car from here, from this. So we need this to work correctly, and we need the water to go out from here. So we've cleaned up the car and gotten rid of most of the rust particles, pressure washed it. A lot of the loose metal has come off, but it looks like there's a lot of rust in areas like over here. This goes into the interiors. So we're gonna have to remove the dashboard to fix up this part. I always suspected that this would be the case, where I'd have to do the engine bay and the front floor. That would be most likely what the case is, and it looks like that's what we're going to have to do. We'll have to work our way this way, then remove the seats later, but it looks like that's the case here. So first off, we've cleaned it up. Next up, in the next episode, we're going to remove the dash, but next we're going to take the Vauxhall for a drive.
Yeah.
So we're now here in the Vauxhall. It's a real hot rod. I needed to open the sunroof in order to fit right in, because otherwise I'm a bit claustrophobic. Maybe if I go over a bump, yep, I'd hit my head. So somebody who's not height deficient would require the sunroof open. It's also got power windows, which are really cool. Check this out. Oh, don't see that. So yeah, some stuff needs a little bit of TLC. Let's start it up. Gain some weight. Start into first. The brakes are actually quite bad. You have to pump them twice to work, sometimes 3 times on Sundays. Yeah, there. So I can see through, but I find this car extremely fun. Apart from being scared that it won't stop, yeah, definitely is fun. Okay, you have to keep checking if the brakes are working. It's part of the safety features of the car. Shit. Bring a lot of noise to my village. Everyone might hate me. I'm not sure if you can hear me either, because it's quite loud. I probably do have to invest in some audio equipment, because I'm sometimes not audible. It is stopping. You got a speed breaker over here. I think what would make this car perfect is in AC. An AC would make this car perfect, because it is quite tight, and I'd probably prefer if the windows were shut, you know, so nobody can watch me struggle with the car as I drive it. I continue to look this cool. I could probably keep my arm out like this. Oh, fuck. There we go, it stopped. That's good. There we go. Yes. So classic car owners continuously romanticize how it is to drive these, but usually you're scared. Sometimes you're struggling and you're wondering why that sound is there, what's that humming, why is my engine not running right. But this is definitely something that keeps you excited. This is loads of fun. I really love it, but it also makes me feel like that again. I can hear a humming from one of the wheels. I guess I'm cautious about it. I'm constantly checking at what a sound is or what a feeling is to the car, because there's always something that I have to check up on. Basically, I have to know I have to check on things that might go wrong with it. So always listening. And I guess that's what you need with a classic car, especially one that needs some TLC, where you need to take care of. You need to have a sensitive butt. Oh, we took the turn nicely. You need a sensitive butt so you can feel all the vibrations and you know exactly where, oh shit, everything is going wrong. You need to keep your ears open. You definitely need to keep your ears open so you can listen to anything that might be off. In this case, we got the engine running all right now. It seems fine. It's a 1.3 fuel injected engine out of a Gypsy. Sorry. So the nice thing about this is everyone looks at you. They're confused as to what it is, if it's stock, if it's modified, a lot about that. And they're wondering who's driving it. That's quite interesting. So yeah. So it's quite hot in this thing, to be honest. And apart from the brakes, which are a bit of a pain, it really drives well. The suspension is a bit scary. So I've taken it sometimes on the highway, and because of those little you know, these longer undulations, like these humps when the road isn't completely flat, the car kind of starts to go in sync with that, the suspension, and it kind of it amplifies the feeling of how it is when you're going over the bump, and it's horrible. It's extremely scary. You have to slow down to 40 or maybe less and then stabilize it again, but you just can't drive this right. So maybe we have to at some point add some dampeners or service the suspension, but the brakes and the suspension are what we need to work out on this car over at some point. You know, we'll have to work on that because it is a bit challenging to drive, and I think those are the shortcomings of this car. But apart from that, it's extremely cool. I wish it had an air conditioning because it's damn hot in here. Show you a bit about it. There's not much to it apart from that, but it's all about the feeling of driving these type of cars, you know. It's more about the feeling of fear, because if you notice, the car moves just a little bit. There's a lot of play in the steerings of these old vintage cars. I'm not sure how much you can actually sort this out, the steering play on the cars, but it is frightening to say the least. And also with the brakes, it's a little bit tricky, but response time is far longer. You have to be prepared for whatever you're doing. You can't risk it so much. You can't drive too fast, and as the road turns like this, you do feel the car shift, because it's kind of like your steering is locked in one place, but because of that play, it still moves. So that is one of the problems with this car, with all of these hot rods, with these vintage cars. With classic cars, not at all. As long as they're sorted out, they don't have this play issue with the steerings. So it's quite good. Oh crap. Yeah, I'm constantly sweating as I brake. So thanks for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Next time we're gonna probably bring a new bike in. Something I've been waiting for a while. It's called a Yamaha DT125 LC. It's a liquid cooled Yamaha from the mid 80s. Very cool bike, very few of them, and it's road legal, so that makes it even cooler. Something I could only dream of for the last 7-8 years, and I finally picked one up, so that's good. But see you guys next time, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.